Hello, everyone. This is John Browning with the Building Your Life podcast. And it's always better. A lot of times I do these just with myself or every once in a while. So once every 2 months or so, I get to have a special guest on. And I've been really excited for like a couple weeks here because I have one of my favorite people in the world, Bridget Hom, who has agreed to do a Building Your Life podcast with me. So Bridget, thanks for being here. Thanks for taking the time. I know you're super busy. You've got the book, you've got speaking, you've got your own coaching clients, everything that's going on. Thanks so much for being here. But I'm going to let you real quick tell us first off, right off the bat, people know how to get in touch with me if they listen every week. You just go out to my website at guardianrockwealth.com or text the word life to 321-421-5213. But how would they get in touch with you? Because they're going to want to as soon as you start speaking.
Oh, well, thanks for that, John. And I love sharing space with you anytime. We have so many great conversations every time we talk. The best way to get a hold of me is just bridgethom.me. That goes directly to my calendar. If you'd like to go to my website, it's bridgethom.com. And if you want to see any of my content, just Google Bridget Hom. You'll find the podcast and everything else.
And there's a lot of content out there. So I love to watch your stuff on everything from TikTok to LinkedIn to Facebook. It's everywhere. So good stuff out there. And you wrote the book. So people know that I wrote the book, Build a Life, Not a Portfolio. And I wrote this a few years ago. And then you went and wrote a book that's better than that, which is Stuck on Ready. And there's a lot of parallels in here that we want to talk about today. Yours is about a different subject, but again, a lot of parallels in here. So tell us a little bit about the book Stuck on Ready. Why'd you write it? What's it about?
Sure. I think it has to really start from the beginning. The book was just a compilation of all the people I got to coach, the group sales trainings, live speaking engagements. It was really a compilation of all the strategies I created. And can I start from the beginning, how that book actually came to
Please. Yeah, what's the story behind it?
Oh man, here we go. So, during the reinvention evolution of 2020, as I like to call it, I just moved out of my big, beautiful home. I was on my way to getting Zoom divorced, as you know. Virtual school became a thing for my three savages. I mean, young, sweet boys. And my job in the seniors industry and I had a placement agency at the time for assisted living and memory care, evaporated because, well, you couldn't go near a senior citizen for their health. So I was trying to figure out, what do I do with these three boys in my apartment to make money? I mean, it was that simple of a question. And, I'd like to say that I launched Bridge to Freedom coaching out of, sheer ambition and inspiration, but that's absolutely not the case. The case was I had to figure out what I was going to do next. And so lo and behold, I got a random Zoom business networking link. I didn't even know what a Zoom was when COVID hit. And I got in my inbox, figured out how to show up, and I show up on a Thursday morning at 8 a.m. And this gentleman, Brian, goes, "Bridget Hom, give your 30 seconds. And I'm like, dang it, he mispronounced my last name. What am I supposed to say? And in a split second decision, I was still on the fence. Do I pitch my placement agency or do I pitch Bridge to Freedom coaching? And what came out was, Bridget Hom here with Bridge to Freedom coaching. Are you ready to level up?
Perfect.
And I had 6 clients within 6 weeks.
Nice.
My 90-day Find Your Freedom program was born. My self-paced programs were born, group sales trainings, live speaking engagements, and the book Stuck on Ready, which hit bestseller. And then here we are today. It's all about the entrepreneurship journey. And I put the tagline, or not the tagline, but the subtitle on the book is Master the Successful Entrepreneur Mindset, Break Free from Self-Sabotage, and Access Limitless Potential. Because as entrepreneurs, it's easy to feel like an island, and you're all alone with your mental team, which could be a good or bad thing, right? And so that's what I wrote the book to encourage, to inspire entrepreneurs to more and better in their business, and help hold that space for more and better for their prospects as well.
I love that. And one of the things that where we parallel a little bit is I get to it in my chapter 2, and you get to it in your chapter 2. And I'm gonna read some. I'm gonna quote you here. All right. So on page 57, it's about honoring who you are by being decisive and knowing what you want and going for it. And that corresponds to, I'll bring mine up, to my chapter 2, which is, if I can, I should have this marked a little bit better, but understanding your values and how that goes into building your best life, and how understanding your values helps you understand that money is just a tool. It's just one of the tools that you use to build your best life. But before you can build something, you have to have the blueprint. You have to understand, you have to look inside yourself, have some really good conversations with not just your dollars and cents and your numbers and all the objective stuff, but with your emotions, because taking the emotions out of investing and out of your money decisions can lead to disaster. And the same thing with what you talk about, right?
Oh, absolutely. There's so many things that you just said there, and it really comes down to deservability. It's not
And
about
you copyrighted that, right? Didn't you?
I did.
I
I
love
totally
that.
did. Because, I love the law of attraction, but it didn't get to the deeper level for me. The law of attraction seemed to be more external, and the law of deservability is more internal, because something that I have learned through entrepreneurship, and that, everyone that I've come across, the hundreds of individuals that, don't realize that entrepreneurship is so much more than just freedom and money making potential without a ceiling, and serving more people with your ideas and strategies. It actually is a personal development journey. And
Exactly. Well, I think you say that early on in the book. You didn't just wake up one day. Now, a lot of people listening to this are not entrepreneurs, but many of them are, because I work with a lot of small businesses. But you didn't wake up one day and say, I'm going to be an entrepreneur.
no,
Right?
no, it's typically moments of contrast that do that for you. And when I speak to CEOs and leaders in their industries, personal development absolutely is one of the foundational building blocks of professional success. So the people that I'm speaking with right now and coaching, it's like, if they're, no matter what number they're at, they're always looking for more and better. And I noticed actually there's 4 different types of motivation. I call it your big MOFA
Okay.
for doing what you do. Whether you're a small business owner, a leader, a CEO, CFO, whatever in your industry, it's all about what's your big motivating factor. And I find that there's 4 different ones. Number 1, it's self-actualization. It's, I just want more and better. I want to be my absolute best version of myself. I want my fitness goals achieved. I want my family goals achieved. I want my finance goals achieved. I want everything. I want to have it all. And I believe you can. Right? Self-actualization. You probably see that in your clients, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then we have, what were you going to say?
I was just real quick. I was going to say, I see and meet so many poor rich people.
Oh, yes. And well, and the truth is, I always say this as well, kind of sidestepping this, is what do people who are living paycheck to paycheck and someone like Elon Musk have in common? What do they have in common?
They're striving. They're unhappy often.
Well, besides that, I mean,
Yeah.
that's very possible. But
Yeah.
the same thing they have in common is time. They have
Yeah.
the same 168 hours a week. But the thing they don't have in common is mindset.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so when you can sell yourself, because you're your number 1 client, something different, like, I want to, self-actualize. This is all about how much I can level up in my mindset, how much can I impact the world based on my skill set? Or, there's people who want to build an empire. They're like, I just want to see everything thrive around me. I want to nurture growth in everything. People who like to build empires, those are the people, the CEOs who build these huge companies, right? And then you have the people who are relationship centric. The people who are like, I just want to serve others with transformation. And that's largely me most of the time. And you too. It's like we just want to see better for people. We hold that space of radical self-acceptance, right? We just want them to have better.
Yep, that's exactly right. That's perfect, actually.
And then there's the last one, though. There's the money motivated people, which we both work with, which is actually really easy to work with money motivated people. It's like, hey, do this, you get to this dollar amount. They're like simple, you know? And so
Yeah.
those are the four types of big MOFAs that generally most entrepreneurs or business owners are in that setting.
Yeah, I love that. The money motivated people just do this and you will have that. I mean, it's just so simple. But another part of my book is the whole dealing with the emotions of investing, and the reason that people who use mathematics to predict where the market is going to go
Mm,
tend to not do well over long periods of time, because what they miss is that the markets are made up of 7-8 billion emotional beings making emotional decisions. So I find that those money motivated individuals, that's not the true rest of the story. As somebody
yeah.
famous used to have a whole first podcast ever, I think, Paul Harvey. Do you remember that? You're not old enough to remember that, but that was a fantastic show. And now
No,
you know the rest of the story. And he would have these great stories on that.
I do remember that tagline.
Yeah. But the rest of the story behind those money motivated people who are very simple to answer their core question, it's not their core question. Their core question comes down to their value set, which goes back to both of our chapter twos, and what it is that they really want for their best life. I mean, you can have that pile of money. And like I said, poor, rich people. And I've also met very rich that some people would consider poor people, because they're rich in what they're doing, what they want, with who they want, how they want, when they want, where they want.
Well, and I think what you're speaking to is, the culture has kind of shifted in terms of what they deem success to look like. Success is not just you have X amount of dollars anymore.
Right.
People have really shifted, especially in the past couple of years, to seeing success as having it all, having a balanced life, getting off work at a certain point, like 3 p.m., which I do typically most days, to help with the boys. But people are seeing freedom and success as different than they have in the past. And are you seeing that cultural shift as well?
Starting to see it, yeah. And typically what happens with me is, and this is my favorite, favorite folks to deal with, right, is they're 45, 55, 65, right kind of in that range, and suddenly they wake up and they find out, and the whole story of my journey to get there is in Build a Life, Not a Portfolio. They realize how much of their lives they've given away to things that don't really matter to their core.
Yes. And, it's so important. And I learned this early on, and I'm very grateful before, Bridge to Freedom coaching kind of took off. I am valuable. Look at who I am, not I am valuable. Look at what I have.
Love that. Love
Because
it.
it's so easy to live under the influence of circumstances, environments, situations, the dollar signs you're making or not making. And the truth is, you can never look at that as what dictates your value. That's why the law of deservability comes down to what you believe you deserve, and it's based on who you're being when you're doing. And so getting into that setting, I talk about this in all my Find Your Freedom programs, my Stuck on Ready programs. And I talk about this extensively in the book on, this identity focused, and I'm not the first to say this, but it's identity focused belief systems. And then that activates the law of attraction. That activates a different money mindset that can serve you in financial growth. That's really the activating factor. That's the core of everybody's identity. It's that deservability.
Yep, I love that. And before we run out of time, I think what you kind of touched on there as well is this whole idea of self-sabotage. And you talk a lot about that in your book. And one of the biggest things that I find, but you tell me what you find as well, is the I can't.
Oh,
The
oh, I
biggest
call
and I struggle with it too, right? I mean, you get in those,
it.
and it can just It can destroy your day. It can eventually destroy your life if you live in that kind of mindset, right?
Oh, the I can'ts, absolutely. I call that hiring the wrong mental team, because we're typically in relationship with our thoughts and perceptions about people and places and things versus people, places, and things themselves. To get to that next level of intentionality of presence requires a lot of mindset shifting and work to be truly intentional with your direction, your decisions, and your destinations. So self-sabotage is something that hits everybody differently, but gets you the same results. Are you standing, by the way?
I am absolutely. I
Both
like.
that are standing desks?
I not really, but I make it one. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I
I gotta
record my
move.
I know, right? It activates your brain better.
Yes.
Whenever I have to write a speaking engagement, I go for a walk around the block, and I probably look like a crazy person because I'm actually programming in, I'm structuring the speaking that I'm going to do, the
Yeah.
entire speaking engagement or group coaching, because movement is so good. If you want to get a good standing desk, they have them on eBay, by the way, at a great price, but standing desks are where it's at for
Yeah.
health. It's like a
Yeah.
health tip.
Yep. That's right. My Apple Watch tells me if I've been sitting too long, and it's like the new smoking, right? Because we all sit so much.
Yes, and there was a TED Talk recently that talked about exercise and how it affects your and based on neuroscience, how necessary exercise is for the entrepreneur or business owner to actually get to that next level of success. So there's another good book, Eat That Frog, that
Oh
talks.
yes, I met him. Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
okay? So
He's down here in Florida.
no way, everyone is Tony Robbins.
I know everybody is.
Well, we are here, John
Yep,
Browning's
I
here.
know.
Like, and yeah, it talks about working out first thing in the morning to get everything going because you've already done something you don't want to do to get what you want. And that's what it's all about in business, doing what you don't want to do to get what you want, manifesting what is the goal, and firing your feelings because feelings aren't your friends in business and success.
Oh yeah, I like that too. I like that too. I've got that's another whole chapter in my book is all about the emotions in investing and how you have to acknowledge them because we all make decisions based on emotions. I have a funny story in there about buying my Harley Davidson. It was so I was looking at two different bikes, right? And I was like, this one over here, it's black and it's beautiful. And I'm a Harley guy, so I think, yeah, well,
I
I'm
can
a
tell.
motorcycle guy. I think all bikes are beautiful. Don't tell my wife that, but she knows. But I was looking at the black one, and it made more sense. It was priced better. Everything about it was better. But there was one over here, and it had this red paint flecks in it. The metal flecks in the paint had the chrome. And the guy that was working with me on it, he just looks at my son who was with me. He's like, because I'm making the argument for the black one.
You're trying to justify it.
Yeah, he's gonna buy the red one. And my son was like, gonna buy, and then guess which one I still have in my garage.
The red one.
A red one. Yep, it's still there. It's still riding it.
My husband would be right with you in that story because he's like, I need a motorcycle again. And I'm like,
Need one.
Is it really a need? There were a couple of things that you actually said, about the people that you work when it comes to finances. There are a lot of emotional buyers, spenders, investors, etc. And it was made me think of a story that my husband was sharing with me earlier. He was talking about Navy SEALs, and because there's two different states, so to speak, two different settings for your brain, and one is the reactionary state, and one is the processing state. And so you want to get people out of the reactionary state, of squirrel, I want to do this right now, because then you have the remorse, the regret, etc. You want to get people processing in a processing state, which is the second state, where you're like, okay, what is next? And so actually Navy SEALs are constantly in, an environment with reactionary states. They're in a reactionary state all the time. Bullets are flying by them. I mean, they're constantly people coming at them. And isn't that the same for us in life? There's constantly so many stressors, so many things pulling at us and our attention and our energies, especially when it comes to business. sales especially, right? We're all in sales. That we want the Navy SEALs that were successful were the ones in the processing mindset, but they were living in the external reactionary state. So if we could all get to that place of a processing mindset, like the Aristotle quote, the mark of an educated mind is the ability to entertain a thought without accepting it, then we're going to achieve emotional intelligence in all of the areas in our life to become successful and have a romance with life at the same time.
Mm-hmm. That is awesome. Good place to end, because I want people to get your book, because I will tell you, folks, I want to tell you, this book. So when I got it, and hopefully people do this with mine, it's dog-eared. It's got, like, you guys can't see it on the. By the way, if you're not watching this on YouTube, if you're watching this on a podcast, go over to my YouTube channel. You definitely want to check it out, especially this one, because I have the face made for radio. Bridget is much more easy to look at, so you definitely want to check this out on YouTube. But if you're just like listening to this in your car or whatever, the book, Bridget's book, Stuck on Ready, I have more dog-eared things on this than I have in my John Maxwell books, but don't tell John, okay?
Wow, that's saying something.
Yeah, and I got marks in and everything else, and that's what'll happen when you get this book. You're gonna, no matter what business you're in, whether you work for a corporation or whether you're a small business owner, mid-sized business owner, it doesn't matter. This is just great stuff for life. Great quotes. She quotes the philosopher Dr. Seuss. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, right? So I want you to go out to bridgethom.me, right?
That's my calendar link, but I had something special that I did not tell you until now.
Okay. All right.
So if they want to get the book for free, it's stuckonready.com. So you can access the audiobook, get a hard copy of my book. The hard copy is free, only take care of shipping, and this could be delivered to your doorstep in 3 days.
Stuckonready.com. Easy. See, mine's a little harder. If you go to book.guardianrockwealth.com, you can have the same thing. See, that thing got to type a lot for mine. Yours is super easy. So we're going to put that in the show notes so people will see that and have the link to it, as well as the link to go contact you, because it will be worth your time and effort to schedule some time with Bridget. So with that, I'm going to leave everyone. Be sure and tune in next week to the next Building Your Life podcast, and everybody have an amazing day.